We're here to acknowledge the work of four women and 3 organizations that are giving yeoman, or should I say yeowoman, service to Jamaica, land we love.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're hearing me, right? No. Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, friends, members of the Women's Leadership Initiative. You're supposed to respond, right? You guys not getting the memo. Michael told you when we say good evening, respond. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Thank you. I too am happy to welcome to our event this evening our Honorable Minister, the Reverend Ronald Thwaites, Her Excellency Celso Nunio, Spanish Ambassador, Senator Honorable Nomali Malahoo Fort and Justice Fort, Noel Da Costa, Chairman, United Way of Jamaica, and Mrs. Da Costa, Mr. Devon Kennington, representing the U.S. Ambassador, Mrs. Winsome Wilkins, CEO, United Way of Jamaica, Professor Owen Shirley, Principal of the University of the West Indies, a very special welcome, sir. Mr. Michael McMorris, Chairman of Victoria Mutual, and Mrs. McMorris, welcome. And I have to say welcome, welcome, and welcome because they are our main sponsors and one of the reasons we are able to even have this event here this evening. So please, why don't we just raise up? And while I'm at it, let me also thank Proven, who's also here with us. They are also one of our sponsors. Thank you so much. Father, but you're supporting us as well, so thank you so very much. Pat Ramsey, Chair Emerita, whom you're going to hear a little bit more about later on. Not that I can tell you anything you don't know. Dr. Deanna Ashley, Dr. Elizabeth Ward, Professor Rory Samsbourne, our individual honorees, and for our organizations, Women's Center of Jamaica, Mrs. Beryl Ware is here with us, Mr. Nita Abrams for Rise Life Management Services, and Mrs. Claudette Richardson Pius, Executive Director, Children First Agency. This evening I bring you greetings from my sisters in the Women's Leadership Initiative and our heartfelt thanks for your support of the work we are doing in trying to improve the lot of women and children in Jamaica, particularly the underserved. A lot has happened since last we shared with some of you. We are very proud of the work we've been able to do at the Sylvia Foot Basic School, at Vouch, the voluntary organization for the upliftment of children, which serves a number of underserved communities in downtown Kingston. There we have upgraded the facilities, we have funded a special education teacher, we have provided teaching aids, and we are working within the Ministry of Education, Minister, to develop a model early childhood center. We are almost there. We're just waiting for you to give us the, what do they give nowadays, stars and, you know, ticks, distinctions. But we're almost there. We've done quite a bit of work there. We recently conducted our second Darkness to Light program, building on the first held 2 years ago, which gave 30 employees of children's homes and places of safety the skills to detect child sexual abuse, which they have in turn been imparting to their colleagues. So this is a very, very special program for us, particularly when we hear the news about children being abused more and more here in Jamaica and elsewhere. The second program which we did, this is Darkness to Light now, building on 2 years ago, widened the net to include guidance counselors and teachers. So we're trying to have a larger cadre of persons with this knowledge so that we can get rid of this terrible scourge. Our mentorship program has reaped positive benefits, and we're happy to report that our first 3 scholarship awardees have now successfully completed their tertiary studies. Successfully. They now have their degrees and are at work. It is is because of the support that you give us from time to time that we are able to even do that much work, and therefore we have to have a ceremony like this to say thank you. We feel at the WLI that what we can achieve is limitless. We are convinced that involvement in institutions like Vouch, the expansion of services and facilities in depressed communities, and the harvesting of the potential that exists in the young to learn, to grow, and to contribute positively to the Jamaican society will be down to the benefit of Jamaica as a whole. I know you share our view that the empowerment of women and girls is a successful strategy for achieving sustained economic growth and productivity in Jamaica. And this belief makes the honor of the 4 individuals and 3 organizations today all the more timely. The WLI remains committed to working with our partners to use financial and human resources at our disposal to bring opportunity to people in need. And ours is a task of giving so that we can create lasting change. This is what we are determined to do with your help. Thank you so much.
Of it, and I spade justice. I need to just acknowledge the presence of Senator Marlene Malahoo Forte, who is not just senator, but also a colleague of mine, and so it's good to see you here. Justice Forte, welcome, sir. We're also very thankful for companies like Victoria Mutual, whose generosity as a main sponsor helps the WLI to achieve its goals. Mrs. Vivienne Bailey-Hay, Vice President, Group Marketing and Corporate Affairs, will now bring greetings from VM. Let's welcome her.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Thank you. I knew I wouldn't have to ask for a response.
Pave the way for you.
Pave the way, definitely. Program Chair, Mr. Michael Anthony Koch, Reverend the Honorable Ronald Thwaites, Minister of Education, Her Excellency Celsa Nuno, Spanish Ambassador, Noel da Costa, Chairman of United Way of Jamaica, and also fellow Director of Victoria Mutual, and Mrs. da Costa, Wilson Wilkins, CEO of United Way of Jamaica, Professor Gordon Shirley, Principal, University of the West Indies, Mona Campus, Father Gregory Rankisoon, our Chairman of Victoria Mutual, Mr. Michael McMorris and his lovely wife, Mrs. McMorris, International Women's Foundation members, honorees, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is my pleasure to bring greetings on behalf of Victoria Mutual at this, the Women's Leadership Initiative's 50th Anniversary of Independence Awards ceremony. Kudos to former U.S. Ambassador Sue Cobb, founder of the Women's Leadership Initiative, a pioneer in her own right who recognized the need to acknowledge and marshal the efforts of women and organizations which foster positive outcomes in the community and have made meaningful interventions in the lives of our children. Throughout the years, Victoria Mutual has supported numerous programs designed to promote youth and national development. And as such, we recognize the importance and need for institutions such as the Voluntary Organization for the Upliftment of Children, Vouch, the main project of the WLI. We congratulate Vouch for the invaluable work which you have done over the years to assist children from vulnerable communities with their educational and health programs. I have no doubt that the communities of Fletcher's Land, Almond Town, Kingston Gardens, Parade Gardens, and Tavern are grateful for your involvement and tireless support. This year's honorees, Ms. Pat Ramsey, Dr. Elizabeth Ward, Dr. Deanne Ashley, who is actually related to our chairman, Professor Maureen Sams-Vaughan, the Women's Crisis Center of Jamaica, Children First, and Rise Life Management Services have answered the call to become change agents by engaging in selfless pursuits which have positively impacted the lives of others and, by extension, the society at large. All our honorees are heroes in their own right, and at this time, we would like to acknowledge and applaud them for their courage, perseverance, and passion, truly making a difference in the lives of those they have touched through their philanthropic pursuits. Ladies and gentlemen, let us just acknowledge them. Your efforts have not only benefited the recipients and transformed lives, but also serve as a shining example, inspiring others to make their own contribution as we work towards the common goal of building a better society. We would like to once again commend the Women's Leadership Initiative for the outstanding contribution they have made thus far, and encourage other women and volunteers to lend their support as we seek to advance the welfare of Jamaica. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and please enjoy the rest of this evening's proceedings.
Outreach and education. To this end, we have the honor of having as our guest speaker the Minister of Education, someone who needs absolutely no introduction except that he's just happy to be here. Please help me welcome the Honorable Ronald Wicks.
Good evening, everybody. May I be excused not to go through the protocol list all again, except to say that I think Michael has helped to advance the English language somewhat by his, is it his coinage of yo woman? Yes, and really, you know, we Jamaicans do such marvelous things with the English language. Yes. So if we put that one into the lexicon again, I think we would have done well. The malaprop, you know, as he was coining, I was thinking, the malaprop is a figure of speech in the English language, well known, and we use a word which is not the exact word, but usually to provide a better meaning. We used to have on the radio. And Senator, I'm sure you'll have this experience. Michael, you do. I did. But this was a very environmentally conscious gentleman of humble origins who lived in an Otter Bay. And so he used to call and say in a very grave voice on public eye, he would say, Mr. Twaits, if they don't clean the garbage in an Otter Bay, we are going to have an epidemic. And then there was the elderly woman of great faith in my church, Monsignor. And every Sunday morning at the bidding prayers, she would get up and say, for God so loved the world that he gave his only forgotten son. And then if you would forgive me, a little risque, there was in my early days of practice, not before you judge, there was a lady who was complaining about unwanted advances by this gentleman, and she said in a very pious voice that the gentleman had approached her menacingly with a machete in one hand and his pestilence in the other. soon done. But I have to tell you about the lady who bucked me up in Coronation Market shortly after the disturbances downtown 2 years ago. And she told me that she and her children for 3 days couldn't go anywhere as they had been held hostage. And that during the 3 days with all the shooting, her children had been dramatized. All of those things are just indicating a snippet of the absolute brilliance, Michael, of your coinage of your woman. Thank you so much for this invitation this evening to pay tribute to the stalwarts of Jamaican's women leadership over the years. And if there's a common characteristic, apart from the fact that 3 of the 4 personalized honorees are medical doctors, have you noticed that, Ms. Pat? Yes? The common feature is, features are twofold. First of all, they, as well as the institutions who are being honored tonight for their work, indicate, first of all, a very high level of educational achievement and sensitivity. And secondly, and more importantly almost, they reflect a generosity of spirit. They have obviously, all of them, determined that purpose and meaning in their lives comes with whatever other trappings from the dedication to public service and particularly to those who are most vulnerable in the society. And surely the purpose of tonight's proceedings must be, and they would wish it so, not only to honor them, but also to, again, lapse into our language, that we could all, in one way or another, follow back at them. And that indeed, they should become the direction and the purpose of the whole of our society. And what a difference it would make if in this year of Jubilee, Jamaica could undertake the same openness of spirit, the same willingness to use one's superior educational achievement, to use power no longer as an instrument of self-aggrandizement, but rather as a way of empowering and assisting those who are deprived in our society. What a different country it would be for us to live in. And therefore there are powerful lessons to be learned from the lives of those and from the operation of those institutions that we are celebrating with this evening. The mantra of the Ministry of Education going forward is doing it right the first time. We feel that, and we're following very much the initiative that has been led by Professor Samsbourne and in a different way advanced by Dr. Ward, and also in related ways by all of the other honorees and institutions, that we are undertaking unnecessary pain and waste in our society because of inadequate socialization and attention at the early childhood level of education. And so we're hoping that following their example and spirit, that we can tonight encourage everyone to think again as to what happens to our children at the very early stages of their life. What messages do we send to them? How can we, as a society going forward, encourage better attention to our children, and so ensure better dividends from the huge expenditures that we make annually for their improvement. The Ministry of Education has the largest budget in Jamaica, other than that which is taken up for the repayment of debt. And even the agglomeration of massive debt largely is connected with the payment for educational institutions. And one must ask whether or not we are using that